Hi and welcome to a very special edition of The Chaotic Kitchen, brought to you in association with Epicam Productions. A lovely guy called Jamie has reached out to me on Instagram and offered his services of videoing and editing for me. So everyone say hi to Jamie. So he's here with he's got a much better Sony camera than I do. Is this crossing the streams? Are we going to create an inception? So I thought I can take the opportunity to not stress about the technical things that I have to deal with normally when I'm filming, and I can just play and be with you person to person. So we're going to make an all-in-one vegan mayo. The recipe comes from the Burger Dude. He posted a little video on his Twitter and I thought that looks incredible because you literally put all of the ingredients in a jar and go in with a blender rather than the drizzling like I had to do in the one last year. And then I'm going to show you how to make two really simple, delicious salads. We're going to do a celeriac remoulade and then we're going to make like an egg salad, a vegan egg salad, obviously. So let's head over to the counter and get stuck in. I'm going to put all of the ingredients into this wide mouth jar and make sure that you can get your stick blender into the jar. I made that mistake last time. And all of your ingredients need to be room temperature as well. We'll do a cup of soy milk. You want unsweetened soy. Half a cup of neutral oil. I'm using sunflower, but you could use avocado, canola, that kind of thing. Doing a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Half a teaspoon of salt. Quarter teaspoon of vegan lactic acid powder. That's optional, just for a bit of extra bite. And then half a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Put the stick blender right to the bottom. I don't know if I did put oil in, or if I put the wrong amount of oil in. Hang on a sec. So I've put the wrong amount of oil in. I got my cup measures the wrong way around. I did a cup of soy milk when I should have done a cup of oil. So I now need to put in, well, do you know what? Let's just pour oil in. I'm rapidly running out of space in the jar, so I'm just going to pour some into a jug. That will allow me to fix this. Chaotic, we love it. So I'll start with another half cup of oil, get that in, and then we'll blend this up again. So it is getting thicker, but it needs more. I'm going to do another half cup of oil. I'm just going to check the flavour because I might need to adjust it now that I've messed up the measurements. No, which is good. All right, so that's done. What I'm gonna do is add oil into that bit in the jug, into that, and then I'll pour that into here. But you can see the texture of the mayo. It's gone really nice and thick, and it is much thicker than the other mayo that I made last year, which had aquafaba in it. I had actually planned on doing a double batch of mayo, doing the second one off camera. So this has worked out quite well. So this is a celeriac. It's a root vegetable. What celery grows out of? I don't think it's the same species. I don't know if that's quite right, but it's not the one they use in salads. It's a different variety that gives this big bulb. The flavour is a bit like celery crossed with a potato. That kind of earthy, nice, creamy, mellow kind of flavour with a touch of celery brightness. So you can roast it, makes a really nice dish in some roast vegetables, that kind of thing. Or you can have it raw, which is what we're going to do today in the remoulade. I'm going to use a speed peeler, so it's one that will work forth and back. And you just shave it. And then we can just spin it round. Make sure you get any of these little eye bits out because they're just not very pleasant, especially because it's going to be raw. You can obviously use a knife as well, but why when you can have fun and shave it? I'm going to use my spiralizer to do the celeriac and the apple as well. You can grate it as well or slice it and do it into very fine julienne, not a problem. I'm just going to be extra and do it on here because I want to get my money's worth out of it. I'm going to use, I'm going to use the finest blade. Also comes with that one. So it's a bit coarser, but that's going to be too coarse, I think. You can pick these up pretty cheap. It's one of those gadgets just chuck in the back of the cupboard, but they are actually really effective. Great way of making something look quite fancy, even though you've not spent much time on it. So I'm going to cut the celeriac down, I think, into quarters to make it easier, because otherwise it's going to be too big for the machine. It's quite a hard vegetable, so you want a fairly sharp knife. Flip it over. I'm just slicing these bits off the bottom here, just because it's a little bit dry. It won't hurt you or anything, it's not harmful, but it's all about the pleasure and then niceness of eating. It's going to depend on what type of spiralizer you've got, but for this type, I'm going to push these are like little spiky teeth type things. Push that onto there and then marry it up to that. That's a blade, so do be careful of that one. Force that on and then just crank the handle. So as the pieces come out, putting them in a bowl, and any long bits like that, I'm just going to break those down a touch. Whatever you're doing, whether it be celeriac or a carrot, you want to kind of get it in the middle, just that it does it evenly. 3/4 of the celeriac, because otherwise there's just going to be too much. There won't be space for anything else. So I've got a couple of Granny Smith apples. I'm just taking the sticker bits off. I'm going to leave the peel on because I like the flavour of it and a little bit of crispy crunchiness. So we'll do the same thing onto the little spike there. In terms of apples on a spiralizer, you want something quite crisp. So I'd stay away from like a golden delicious, red delicious, that kind of thing, because they're going to fall apart quite easily unless your blade's really sharp. And again, I'm just going to break that down a touch. This could be a nice way of getting kids to eat vegetables and fruit because it's kind of fun, isn't it? If I decide down the line this is too big still, I can go in with a pair of scissors. All right, if you've got something really important that you need to do, an exam, job interview, that kind of thing, and you find yourself feeling really stressed and het up, telling yourself you're calm, I'm not nervous, I'm calm, it's not going to work, because calm isn't palms sweaty, vomit on your sweater already kind of thing. So tell yourself you're excited. I'm excited, and say it out loud, because excitement feels like stress. I've just realised I'm out of fresh herbs, so what I'm going to do is utilise the frilly parts of a celery. So I'm just going to pull these little leafy bits off. This is just going to add a nice bit of freshness. But if you have got parsley, chives, spring onions, that kind of thing, you could 100% use those as well. I've remembered I have got dried chives, so I'll give a nice bit of onion kick. Do a very kind of rough shredding, choppy kind of thing on these. So kind of bunch it up. And then I'm just going to push these to one end of the board. And then I'm going to use some capers, flower bud, and then they pickle that, like put it in a brine, about a tablespoon. And these have got really nice saltiness, but then also, I don't know how to describe the flavour, it's like a nice bright salty kick to it. You could also use gherkins, the little tiny gherkins called cornichons, they'd be really good in here. I'm going to cut a lemon into half. I'm not sure how much of it I'll use. There's also that lactic acid powder in the mayo, so I might not need tons of lemon, but we'll see. Now I've got everything spiralized and chopped. We're going to start building the dressing directly into the bowl. I'll do like, oh, look at that. It's thick and delicious. That's probably 2 tablespoons, so maybe start with 6 tablespoons or so. Start with 1/4 teaspoon of salt, because remember there's salt in the mayo. I don't want it to be over salty. I've trained myself not to use tons of salt, so feel free to add more in if you want it. Then lots of black pepper. I've remembered I've got some dried chives. If you've got fresh, use fresh. Teaspoon and a half, something like that. The celery leaves. And then the capers. Squeeze of lemon juice to start with. I'm just going to get the pips away. Half of a half, so 1/4, just to start with. I don't want to pull it apart too much, so I'm kind of going to the bottom, pulling it through. And it's going to be not quite as wet as a coleslaw would be. 1 more large spoonful of mayo, and then I'll check the flavouring and we'll see where we're at. I think that's going to be probably good to go. So I've added another kind of 1.5 tablespoons, well, 2 tablespoons, let's say, of the mayo. Last flavour check to see if it needs anything else. Touch more lemon, and then we're good to go. Juice of half a lemon, but do it to taste. Nothing in cooking is hard and fast, really. As the celeriac and apples sit for a little bit, they're going to start releasing their own moisture. So then right before serving, I'll just mix it through again, and then that'll be perfect. So I'm just going to pile this in. You know, if you want to make this extra fancy, you could put some walnuts on top, pieces of toasted walnut, toasted seeds, that kind of thing. Now we're going to make a vegan egg salad, egg mayonnaise kind of thing. And I'm going to be using tofu in 2 different forms. So to make the kind of yolk type part, like the hard-boiled egg, I'm going to use some extra firm tofu. I use the Tofu Company brand. So what I'm going to do is crumble pieces down, press it with a bit of paper towel just to get some of the moisture out. Then use some grated carrot. I'm going to squeeze the juice out of it to give it some colour. And then I'm going to use black salt. So this is salt that's got a really high sulfur content, so it tastes quite eggy. So that's a really good way of getting some egg flavour into vegan food. I've got 2 pieces of paper towel in a low dish, and then I'm going to put 2 on top of the tofu, so I'll put that underneath for now. This is a 450 gram block, but I'm not going to use that amount. Can you see all this moisture that's in there? So it's got lots of liquid in there, so we need to cut a corner off and squeeze it out. So I'm just going to pour that out. This is 2 blocks of silken tofu. That's the type that comes in Tetra packs. And I've just been draining some of that excess liquid out. So that's just been chilling out there for a couple of hours. So give it a really good squeeze. Cut the plastic open. It's just to give a bit of variance in texture. You don't have to use this if you don't want. I'm just going to tear kind of chunks off. And the paper here is just to drain a bit more liquid. And because I'm going to mix everything together, if I do the pieces really small, it'll become even smaller. The tofu crumbled down, so I'm just going to put another paper towel on and just press it down, just to blot a little bit more of this liquid out. A little bit more stuff out, and that will help the carrot juice sink into it. In the pestle and mortar, I'm going to put in some of the black salt, because it's very big crystals at the moment, big lumps of it. So I just want to powder that down. Half a teaspoon, I mean whatever I don't use I can put back in the jar, so it's fine. And then crush that down. If you've seen the scrambled eggs video that I did last year at some point, to get colour in there I used carrot juice. You can use turmeric, but it has a flavour of its own that's noticeable, whereas I just want the colour. So I'm going to use finely grated carrot, and I've got a little muslin cloth here. Into the muslin, gather that up, put it to the side for 1 second, and then I'll get the tofu. Take the paper off. Just going to squeeze carrot juice. And this might not work as intended. I thought I'd give it a go, just to get a little bit of other colours going on as well, because egg salad isn't just one colour kind of thing. Because this tastes of salt as well as the eggs, but I'm going to put most of the flavouring onto this part, and then I'll mix that into the main bit. So I'm going to do, that's probably a heaped 1/4 teaspoon, something like that. Maybe another little squeeze of carrot juice. I do it that way because it's easier than buying a bottle of carrot juice, but if you've got carrot juice in your fridge, just use that, not a problem. So I've tied this nut milk bag onto the tap. What I don't want to do is squeeze it too much, because I want to keep some of the chunks of tofu, but I will squeeze it a tiny bit. You can also drain it in a sieve, a muslin cloth in a sieve, that kind of thing. And then we'll head over to the mixing bowl. I want some chopped celery in here. 700 grams of the silken tofu, 2 celery ribs in that quantity. Chop the very end bits off, each rib into 3 long strips. I'm going to put the tip of the knife in, drag it down, rock it back, and do the same again. Hold them together. So now I'm going to mix through that crumbled tofu, just make sure everything's evenly coated. And then I'm going to lift it out with a fork just to kind of drain off some of that excess carrot juice. You can also put in some cooked potato if you want, make like a potato egg salad. Black pepper again, a 1/4 teaspoon, something like that, but do it to taste. Some smoked paprika, 1/4 teaspoon or so. 2.5 tablespoons, so maybe do 5 or 6 tablespoons of the vegan mayo. Gently break it apart. More salt, more mayo, So like a 1/4 teaspoon more of the black salt. A bit more paprika, I think. Using a different spoon each time, just so there's no contamination. Touch of lemon, and then it's good to go. Maybe 1/4 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon, something like that. I'm going to put this in a different bowl, and then we'll do some eating. So we've got the 2 salads all done and dusted, looking delicious, and I can't wait to dive in. Yesterday I made some of these crackers. So these are chia seed crackers. They're completely oil-free, they're very low carb as well, so if you're on a keto diet, these are going to be great for you. And they're nice and crispy. So I'm going to have those with this. So this is why you don't want really long strands, because otherwise it's all going to be hanging out your mouth and you look like a St. Bernard. There's no elegant way of doing this, is there? It's got a lovely amount of crunch, but then there's creaminess from the mayo. The apple's got some nice bright, tangy, sour kind of notes to it. Really good. Let's go in with the egg salad. Dive in. The silken tofu texture very similar to egg whites, like hard-boiled eggs. Then you've got a nice bit of crunch from the celery, eggy flavour from the black salt. The paprika rounds everything off really nicely. Perfect. In terms of storing things in the fridge, the mayo is going to keep for a couple of weeks at least, although that jar's almost done and I'll finish that tomorrow, I imagine. The apple that's in the remoulade, that's going to shorten the shelf life of it. A couple of days maybe. The egg salad that'll keep for a good 4 or 5 days. Something like that, not a problem. As ever, I want to say a great big thank you to my supporters on Patreon. Your help, support and love is really appreciated. If you want to sign up, I will leave a link down below in the description for you. I do polls on what episode I'm going to do next, that kind of thing. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications if you want more recipes served into your inbox every week. I do lots of vegan recipes and vegan twists on classic dishes. While you're waiting for the next one, make sure you hit like and then have a look at this.